Hi, my name is Antonia Bonello and I'm a creative director at Buzzfeed. When you think of a typical gamer, who do you think of? Male? A teenager or in his late 30s? Living in his parents' basement, wearing Dorito dust-covered tracksuit bottoms and smack-talking 10-year-olds online, right? Well, your gaming audience is evolving. And wrong, you're looking right at her. I've loved video games ever since my mum got me a Sega Mega Drive. I've played my way through Tomb Raider, Resident Evil, Metal Gear Solid, Pokemon, Mario, and countless more. And yet, I'm not necessarily considered as a typical gamer, even though I have had my dark moments of being covered in Dorito dust. The fact is, there is no typical gamer. So much so, people don't even consider themselves as gamers, even though they love playing video games. I mean, how many of you have a little game on your phone? Candy Crush spring to mind? Temple Run? Clash of Clans? You're a gamer. But because we have such an outdated stereotype of what a gamer is, we are missing the bigger picture. And this is where we have the invisible rise of the girl gamer. You've probably heard this before. Women make up 45% of gamers. But what you might not have heard before is that in 2019, women were predicted to account for almost a third of the projected £3.5 billion annual spend in the UK on video games. And yet, the representation of female game characters, games developers, and targeted consumers doesn't match that. And in 2019, only 5% of all 126 games shown at E3 featured a female protagonist in its starring role. And that's just for women. What about other diverse characteristics such as sexuality, gender identity, ethnicity, and those with disabilities? And everyone else across this wonderful human spectrum. But despite all of this, the vast majority of representation of characters within games, the developers who make them, and as targeted consumers, defaults as straight white male. And by defaulting as straight white male, you are missing a whole section of your audience to connect with. Gamers are the most loyal fans, especially amongst Gen Z hardcore gamers. And as hardcore gamers get older and acquire more responsibilities, they unwillingly get downgraded to core gamers due to time pressures, but they also have more money to spend. So they spend their money on the brands that they feel most affinity with. Therefore, brands who build their relationship with hardcore gamers early will reap the rewards as they progress to a better financial position. And this is for brands that want to align with gaming, as well as consoles and game brands. So build your relationship with gamers now by showing that you care about them and want to make games for them. And this is how you do it. Firstly, diversity is key. Remember how games predominantly feature men as the protagonists? This was so canon in the games industry in the 80s that when Samus, the hero protagonist of Metroid, ended up being a woman, it was a huge unexpected twist. A woman being a spacefaring bounty hunter who protects the galaxy from space pirates? Who knew, huh? This was a big step up for video games, right? Wrong. To make sure that you knew that Samus was a woman, she was shown in her bikini right at the end of the reveal. Even worse, the faster you completed the game, the more skimpier the bikini. Small steps, eh? Think the bikini thing was because the designers were limited by the number of pixels on a screen? Think again. Now you get boobs and butt in glorious HD. Now, I've been doing martial arts for 20 odd years now, and I guarantee you that that thong caused more damage and pain than a roundhouse to the face. Maybe, just maybe, if more women were involved, these games wouldn't be so overtly sexualized, demeaning and alienating to 45% of the audience who plays them. Quite simply, you cannot have diverse and inclusive games without diverse people making them. And this goes for all industries too, not just gaming. Hiring diversely opens up industries to different perspectives and experiences that inevitably lead to more creativity, whether it's as more LGBT plus characters and storylines from an authentic voice, to developing a different game mechanic that maybe only someone with a disability could think of. All of these things allows for gamers of all ilks to build stronger connections and loyalty with the games and consoles and believes that they were made for them. 2, be an ally. Needless to say, there are difficulties in gamer culture, and games companies and brands have a responsibility to battle this and set an example if they want to make gaming a diverse and inclusive industry for everyone. One of the biggest catalyst moments was Gamergate in 2014, which, to be honest, could be a whole talk on its own. But trying to put it simply, without trivializing it, what started off as an online movement allegedly concerned with ethics and corruption in games journalism manifested into a culture war over protecting the gamer identity. The reality was that women in the games industry, whether as developers, journalists, or players who dared to criticize or have opinions on games, were the target of severe harassment by a vocal group of men who played them. One female video game critic noted that even though she rates Grand Theft Auto 5 as a 9 out of 10, it glorified male sexuality while demeaning women, where one small note attracted 22,000 comments and a petition was even started to get her fired. Other women endured trolling, death threats, and doxing so bad that they had to flee their homes or were forced out of the gaming industry altogether, which is still feeling the ripple effects of this. Scary, right? I remember in 2014 when Assassin's Creed announced that it would no longer be possible to play as a female character, despite the trailers showing promise to. Many male players celebrated this, saying that playing as a woman would alienate them from the game, even though women are alienated all the damn time. Also, you telling me that men can't relate to playing a human woman, but can relate to a yellow hockey puck, a blue hedgehog, and a spinning box-breaking bandicoot? I'll never forget when I was 8, playing the first Tomb Raider and excitedly telling my uncle all about it. It was just so cool to be playing a kick-ass woman, you know, and she instantly became my idol. My uncle told me that he would never play the game because he can't relate to playing a woman, but was more than happy playing a big butch commando shooting zombies in Resident Evil, which, and I love my uncle very much, is the absolute opposite of him. I mean, he once did his backing by picking up a pencil from the floor. I remember the feeling of belittlement and being lesser than the boys. I really wish the developer of Assassin's Creed and my uncle showed unity with me and stood by my side to show me that women weren't there just as a side piece. But games developers are doing so much better. When the Battlefield 5 trailer was released in 2018, it became hugely controversial with a set of self-identified hardcore gamers complaining because the trailer showed a woman in its starring role. Their argument was that it's not about sexism. It's just inauthentic to show a woman on the front line in World War II, and it would break immersion. This is despite women having actually served combat roles during the war, and men depicted as jumping out of a first floor window into a forward role while being shot at, and then getting about his day being perfectly acceptable. Let's face it, people can be horrible online with big gobs, and it can be a scary place for brands. But it is a much more scary place for those in a minority who are just trying to live their truth. EA Dice stood bravely by its decision despite the threats of the loud minority. And it was so heartwarming to have a big developer take this big risk to stand up for diversity. And I wish others would follow suit too. So help stand up to the bullies who believe that games are theirs and not everyone's. 3, build human connection. It's more important than ever for brands to find a way to connect to their audience on a human level, especially gamers who are the most cynical bunch and are very quick to spot inauthenticity. Right now, advertising is a mess. You can't walk down the street or have a quick flick through Facebook without every brand shouting at you to buy me, buy me. This has got so much that people have now become desensitized to it. And in fact, a third of all gamers feel that brands don't understand what it means to be a gamer and gamer culture, and are just trying to jump on the trendy gaming bandwagon. The truth is, the video gaming community are much more diverse than what we realize, and brands have a big opportunity to connect with the invisible gamers who make up a huge part of the gaming community. That is why Buzzfeed created Multiplayer. Multiplayer is Buzzfeed's gaming channel that invites a diverse and inclusive gaming audience to live their fandom, regardless of if they call themselves gamers or not. And we create content that gamers across all identities love, can identify with, and see themselves in. These 3 videos, just 3 pieces of content, have over 80 million views between them. And that blows my mind. What's even better is that we are 100% brand safe. We create our own content and have cultivated a very inclusive audience through our diverse creative and talking to lots of micro audiences. This means we are already an ally for our diverse gaming community because we create a safe space for all. You see, gamers are multidimensional beings, and it's not as simple as just trying to push content to an audience demographic and hope that they see it. BuzzFeed publishes over 500 pieces of content a day, which is a fantastic way to learn about what content and interests audience demographics love. And we get that instant feedback and connection. So much so, if you take, say, a 25 to 34-year-old woman and put them through the BuzzFeed prism, you will find that they love content around parenting and DIY, are fitness enthusiasts, and are frequent travelers. These are the things that you want to create content about to talk to this audience authentically. Okay, let's take me, for example. If you put Antonia, begrudgingly aged 30, through the BuzzFeed prism, you'll find that I'm a wannabe Lara Croft, an only child to a single mum, a proud gay woman. I love Batman and martial arts, and I'm dyslexic. Don't worry about the dyslexia thing, though. I actually find it kind of fun. I mean, how many of you can walk past Top Man and see tampon? I bet you all will now. Right, so what happens if we take gamers and put them through the BuzzFeed prism? You'll find that, they like video games, but they also like tech, food, comics and anime, travel, and streaming video online. Okay, so now we know the kind of content that gamers like, we can create the content using human connection. This is the most impactful way to authentically resonate with your audience and encourage them to share with their friends. After all, people are more likely to look at content if it is shared by someone they know, and gamers are 61% more likely to say they would advocate on behalf of a brand if something were relevant to their friends' interests. At BuzzFeed, we have 3 human connection pillars that all of our content lies under one or more of. First up is identity, which is content that makes people think that is so me, or so us, or so you. Whether it's content that identifies with people who have green eyes, loves pineapple on pizza, or in my case, anything to do with Batman. Honestly, as soon as anything with Batman comes out, I get tagged by at least 7 different people, some who I haven't seen since school, because they saw it and remembered that I'm that weird Bat kid, and it's their way of positively connecting with me. Then there's emotion. This is content that makes you feel something, whether it makes you laugh, sad, nostalgic, and more. And information, which is content that teaches you something new, such as a recipe video or a trivia quiz that tests your knowledge, and then you can show off to your friends how clever you are. The more pillars you can hit, the more likely your content will go viral. Here's a couple of examples of content that we created for multiplayer. So, Call of Duty players try military combat gear has the identity of people who play Call of Duty or first-person shooters. It has the information of what is the military gear actually like and how realistic is COD. And the emotion that this is blatantly going to be hilarious watching people try this out. Total win. And then for the 28 moments anybody who played Nintendo in the 90s will remember, we have the real strong identity of people who love Nintendo. Remember, gamers are hella loyal. And the emotion of nostalgia, which is by far one of the highest performing content pillars for gamers. So what could this mean for brands who want to align with gaming? Well, our gaming audience naturally consumes native advertising, with 35% of our gaming audience having watched a video made by a brand. 23% clicking to share a brand's post or message, and 22% clicking on a promoted or sponsored post. We've already built out a whole arsenal of formats and products that our gamers know and love. There's buzz cuts, where we take your assets and trailers and cut them to fit in with the tone of voice that our gaming audience resonates with, as we know that 39% of gamers want memes. We also know that 34% of gamers want game run-throughs and 30% want video reactions. So we could create a talking heads video where a diverse cast plays through a game or challenge each other to something. Remember how gamers love food? They love it so much that food content is gamers' most viewed content in the past 30 days. So why don't we create a series of game day snack recipes on Tasty that people can make when they get their friends over for a FIFA tournament? Gamers are also more likely to travel and go on holiday. So we can make a gaming experience videos with our media brand, Bring Me. That there is a photo of me in a VR warehouse having just survived a horde of zombies. If you haven't done VR before, I highly recommend it. A brand could even sponsor an editorial gaming theme week, which would include a Buzzfeed homepage takeover and all the content that I've just described. But we have much bigger visions. What if we launch together a dedicated UK edition of Multiplayer, where we create UK-focused gaming content that resonates with Brits and British identity? Or what if Multiplayer launched a new gaming show where we review and talk about all the latest games from AAA to indie and mobile gaming? What if Multiplayer sponsored a diverse pro gaming team and created a docu-series about their rise in esports? Or what if we developed our own mobile game using BuzzFeed's extensive insights into our gaming audience and internet trends and created the next Untitled Goose Game? There really is so much that can be done to win engagement and loyalty from gamers. And there we have it. If you want to build a strong relationship with gamers, do it now by making sure diversity is your primary mission, by being an ally, and building that human connection. Cheers. If you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram with @8bit_Bonello, and I'm also on Twitter too, @Antonia Bonello. Thanks.